Greetings. I hope you're having a good day. Knowledge is experience. This is a pithy saying that is said multiple times over the centuries by philosophers such as Sir Francis Bacon. In more recent times, it was a favorite expression of Chairman Mao. I wouldn't doubt that a Greek philosopher or two said the very same thing thousands of years ago. Now, I myself don't completely agree. It is the is part that I get hung up about, since knowledge may be acquired in many different ways. Acquiring lots of knowledge is generally a good thing. For example, to be a solid professional such as a doctor or a lawyer or even a financial advisor, the more knowledge, the better. However, one should not underestimate the impact of knowledge concerning the most mundane of tasks, as generally knowledge is helpful. People generally overestimate their knowledge. They think they know everything or just more than they do. The problem with this is that this delusion inhibits a desire to learn more. For example, a ditch digger might think that after doing so for a long while that they would know all there is to know about that process. But I believe that we often fool ourselves about such things and that there are often better ways to do things. By better, I mean like more efficient, less costly, higher quality, etc. But sometimes thinking that we know best fosters a complacency that prevents us from finding something better. Where does knowledge come from? How exactly do we learn? When we are young, there is a blueprint which starts with parenting and which picks up with schooling. Emphasis is usually placed by authority figures in our young lives on learning not only just by listening and studying, but also having the right attitude and motivation to learn. Clearly, not everybody's capacity to learn is the same. It may take more of an effort for some to learn certain things. So an attitude must be present and perhaps taught that there is a purpose to learning. Each of us has a capacity to learn, and that capacity is larger than we think. But the desire to fill that capacity can vary greatly from individual to individual. There is an attitudinal thing about learning that factors big in our younger years. When you are motivated to learn, you listen more, you study more, and you process more analytically and diligently. So the accomplishment of learning when you are growing up consists not only of the actual knowledge acquired, but just as importantly, that you've developed the discipline for learning. Distractions and laziness are often the obstacles of learning when we are growing up. Kids like to play. Well, there's nothing wrong with playing. But that shouldn't preclude learning. A bad attitude can develop that says, why am I learning that? Or how is that going to help me? Even if there is some validity to those things, what is often missed is that in developing our capacities to learn, we sometimes will have to practice with topics that may not be especially pleasing to us, or practical for that matter. So what? Someone has to decide curriculum for children. That is the way it works, and if it isn't appropriate, then it has to be changed. But this should not be an excuse for young people to avoid schooling and learning. Now, as we mature, it all starts to change or evolve. Our own ability to process develops, and we find that we create our ideas independent of the usual authority figures like parents and teachers. Some of those ideas may have the seed planted from a friend or even from media sources like TV or internet. So as we get older, our sources of knowledge increase. Ultimately, we reach the point where we are independently on our own, and then we have more say in our lives in general, and including what we learn. And that's a good thing, especially if we have taken the trouble to develop the capacity as a youngster to learn. And that includes being open-minded and diligent about it. This is where the lazy, distracted young learners now find themselves at a disadvantage. At some point, the learning in your life becomes less a result of studying and more as a result of your experiences. As you get older, you will endure more experiences, and sometimes there is a repetitive quality to it all. It is these experiences from which we learn a lot, and often things that no books or TV shows or internet could ever teach us. There is nothing like being stabbed in the back to teach us a lesson of being careful with folks and not to be so trusting. Constantly in our lives, our actions will lead to approval and disapproval, both of which can enlighten us. So when you're being schooled, you will often have someone marking your work, and that might help you to learn. When you are a mature adult, there usually isn't anyone marking you, but there will be a heck of a lot of people judging you, and there will often be a lot at stake. So our experiences will, in fact, teach us, unless, of course, we're blinded. So knowledge is experience, and we need to keep an open mind to what is happening around us so as to process these experiences, so for them to become a part of our mindset to deal with things better in the future. We need a certain vigilance in processing our experiences and extracting the lessons of life. So indeed, from that point of view, knowledge is experience. Thank you.